again. Who we got out there for South Africa? And who's out there for Samoa?
This is the new skunk. Get ready.
So South Africa and a final bit of a conflap to work out what they're going to do from the start of this game. They are kicking to Samoa. Samoa, of course, marshalled by Sir Gordon Tietjens, who oversaw many thrilling victories for New Zealand down the years. Well deserving in his Rugby Hall of Fame place. But Samoa, they really need to put down a marker. On their day, they are a match for anyone. They really are, of course, very, very popular winners of this type.
HSBC Premier Suite live down here at the Emirates Airline Dubai Rugby Sevens. HSBC Premier Suite, are you enjoying the afternoon? Are you ready to wade into your rugby ambassadors? Do we have any Irish with us here tonight? Who's booing? Who's booing the Irish? Who is booing them? The English. What's going on there? Where are the Irish again? Where's the Irish out there? Do we have any South Africans? More Irish than South Africans, but there's more out there. So we've got any England rugby fans out there? No, sorry. We haven't got an Englishman for you. We haven't got an Englishman for you. We've got two greats of the game, though, coming up here to answer your questions in just a few moments' time. Where are you? You're in the Premier Suite, courtesy of the bank. We thank you all for your custom. On behalf of HSBC, we thank you for your continued patronage, and therefore that's why this afternoon is on us. A couple of drinks on the bank for you, because you give us lots of money, so we're going to give something back to you this afternoon. Get involved in that. Up there, if we could ask everyone to give us a wave up there on the top tier. And everyone on the bottom, those cameras up there, you're live to the world. We're Facebook Live, so no Moonies, all right? We are Facebook Live throughout this one, so thank you very much to all the tens of thousands that are watching in from around the world and agreeing with envy at the moment. So, get involved. If you are on your phones, if you've sneaked a selfie already with the rugby ambassadors, please use our handles and hashtag. The hashtag today is hashtag HSBC7s. The handle is at HSBC_sport. So, to our two individuals coming up here to answer your questions. Between them, they have collectively scored 585 international test points in their 265 international caps. Both of their respective countries leading in highest all-time try scorers, and they are world beaters. They've been there, done that, and won just about everything there is to be won. By way of Leinster, Ireland, and of course the British and Irish Lions, he is the second most capped player in rugby history. He is the highest scoring centre of all time. He is the man with the most tries scored in the Six Nations. He has been honoured by the World Rugby Hall of Fame. He has been honoured by Rugby World as their player of the decade. He is an HSBC Rugby ambassador. Please welcome back Bryan O'Driscoll. The man alongside him is, by way of the Lions, the Bulls, Western Province, Toulon, and of course the Springboks. Second on the list of the all-time test try scorers of all time, joint highest try scorer in World Cup history. More tries than any other Springbok in history. He was named the IRB Player of the Year, and in 2007, he won a World Cup. Give it up for the other Bryan. Please welcome Bryan Habana. This is HSBC's Life of Bryan. We've got Bryan with an I and Bryan with a Y. What could possibly go wrong? Right, fellas. It's good. Look at that. They've built the stage right in the sun, eh?
You really asked what's going to go wrong. Can we just get an ambulance on call in case Bryan...
I'm good, thank you.
Gentlemen, it's great to have you here. You are our HSBC Rugby ambassadors this year. We're going to be taking a few questions from the floor in just a few moments' time. We are Facebook Live, so let's, of course, remember, of course, all the team that are watching from afar. Let's start with where we are here. We're back at the Emirates Airline Dubai Rugby Sevens, Bryan O'Driscoll. And each year we come back, it just seems to get that little bit better. Is that because of the game of Rugby Sevens is also going along that trajectory?
Yeah. Oh, that was close. Yeah, possibly. I suppose before we start, brilliant to be back in Dubai. It was interesting listening the cheers and some of the boos about who here's from Ireland. Predominantly English people booing the Irish. Still a little bit envious of our victory against New Zealand in November when they couldn't quite get the job done. But it was a valiant effort. Well done, you guys. Great effort. Anyway, yeah, so it's brilliant to be back in Dubai. I love this event. Obviously, it's the first one on the circuit, but I think it's the fact that men's, women's, veterans, there's kids' games going on outside as well. It lends itself to a brilliant party atmosphere, but it's not quite as wild as Hong Kong, which suits someone that's nearly 40 years of age and is trying to find the mature adult in their life. So, no, it's brilliant to be here. Sun in December. You don't see much of that in Ireland, so we'll take it.
There are 10 cities on the HSBC World 7 Series at the moment, Bryan Habana. You have been to several of those, both as player and more recently as a commentator as well. Each tries to do something a little bit different to set themselves apart. What have you learned during your time here in Dubai at the Sevens?
Hello, everyone. I think it's really great. My first tournament. I'm here as an intern. They've paired me up with one of the masters that has been on the series for a number of years, has gained valuable experience. So hopefully he'll sort of tutor me and take me under his wing over the next year or so. But it's absolutely brilliant to be back in Dubai. It's a tournament I've never been at. I've come to Dubai quite often over the last decade, but never at this present moment in time. So we walked in yesterday, seeing the girls playing netball, seeing the vets on the field, seeing the women's on the other side. It's absolutely brilliant. I am really excited to be here. I think there's going to be some fantastic rugby on show today, with the women's final, tomorrow with a vets final and the men's final. So I'm very excited about Hong Kong as well. So I think this is a nice phasing in event leading into Hong Kong. But yeah, it's brilliant. I think the party atmosphere that Sevens creates is absolutely exceptional. I think for people to understand the game that don't really know it, it's a really easy introduction. But what Dubai has put on in this environment is absolutely spectacular. So hoping for a Blitzbox window. They not only series champions over 2 years, but I think they're tournament holders of Dubai. So a lot of pressure on their backs, and hopefully I'm a lucky charm and I get invited back.
Bryan, year on year we come back to...
Which Bryan?
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, which Bryan?
Bryan with an I. We've got to go Bryan with an I.
Bryan without the World Cup. That's how I'd like to be referred to for the rest of the time.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue that easily.
Or Bryan with more test caps, however, it's...
Bryan with the Amlin win, the Amlin Cup win.
Amlin Challenge?
Yeah.
Okay, Amlin Challenge, Bryan. Question to you. Last year, around about this time, we were sort of wallowing in Olympic glory, Rio. We were also building up and looking ahead to the Commonwealth Games, the World Cup of Rugby in San Francisco. It seems that the growth of the game of sevens also comes with big events. We don't have one of those big events this year. Is that going to hinder the growth of the game in any way?
Not at all, because it's an Olympics qualification year, which is massive. I think you saw the enormous growth of the sevens game with the impact of Rio. Straight away, there was 17 million new sets of eyeballs that had never seen rugby before watching rugby sevens. I thought it was a huge success, particularly the women's game. I thought the final was one of the standout moments for me of all of Rio. So, it's really grown from there, and what another great opportunity they have in an Olympics in Japan in 2 years' time after the Rugby World Cup 15s is there to piggyback off that too. So it's a growing game year on year. I think it's going to be able to live side by side with the 15s. They're not trying to compete, but we said it before that these athletes out here are in phenomenal condition. Bryan tried to make the Rio Olympics in 2016.
Make being the vital word in that sentence.
It didn't go great, but he still has a World Cup, so it's not all bad. But the series has, since its infancy in 2010, and HSBC coming on board as title sponsor, I think it's grown exponentially year on year, and then it got that second kicker in Rio in 2016. I think in 5-6 years' time, this game, could parallel 15, certainly from an eyeball perspective, and getting into countries that aren't synonymous with rugby is the big thing. Germany, Russia, America, countries that love the Olympics is going to help its success.
We've seen sort of changes in sports across the globe, no more so than cricket. Shorter format of the game has seen a sort of change in perspective. A lot of kids coming into cricket now just wanting to play white ball cricket or shorter format cricket. Could we possibly see the same with sevens and kids wanting to just come into the game to play sevens?
Like Bryan alluded to, I definitely don't think that either game is in danger of being forgotten. I think the beauty about the pure form of the game in 15-man is that it literally is for everyone. So whether you're short or tall, fast or slow, slim or less.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. I once had a bit of gas many moons ago. Rotund.
Slim or less slim. Old, young, male, female. The game of 15s is truly for everyone, and I think it's a great game of rugby. I think we're all wanting the rules and regulations to be more consistent globally at the moment. But I think 15s is great. I think 7s is a little bit more streamlined in terms of the type of player that can make it at the highest level. And, you know, I'm all for kids wanting to dream of becoming the next Carl Niles, the next Perry Baker, the next Sivela Sonatla from South Africa. I think this game is so entertaining, it's so exhilarating, and it's really fun to watch. And, you know, Bryan said it yesterday, if you have a game that's 14 minutes long and it's pretty average, you're bound to get something, you know, 15 minutes later that's a lot more exciting. So it's entertaining on the go for, you know, a 2-3 day period. That's phenomenal. And, yeah, 15s is great, but I think as an introduction to 7s and what it's given rugby globally is absolutely phenomenal. So in no danger in either sport. And like I say, if I probably want to start out my career again, I'd maybe want to try the 7th circuit, you know, being able to travel the world, you know, being in environments like this in Dubai, Hong Kong, Cape Town. You know, it's absolutely phenomenal. You get to learn skills. You hopefully get to grow your lungs because that's what this game does. But it's phenomenal. So I think it could be a stepping stone. But a lot of guys have actually gone on to make a career out of it. You know, Kyle Brown, the South Africans, you know, been in the game for 12 years. DJ Forbes, who got the World Rugby Special Merit Award at the World Rugby Awards this weekend, you know, played 14 years at this level. So I definitely think, you know, contractually, they contracts globally to most countries at the moment. So you can now also make a living out of playing 7s, which wasn't there previously in the game.
Be it 7s, be it 15s, rugby is certainly a passport to the world for those that achieve the greatness that you two have achieved on the field. Just want to get your thoughts on respective countries as well, because you had the opportunity to play against each other several times and tour each other's respective countries. The most challenging aspect of touring South Africa, Bryan O'Driscoll, and the same question to you, Bryan Habana, the most challenging aspect of touring Ireland. Bryan.
Not getting shot. Am I allowed to say that? I think it's too late. I think it's too late.
Did you press pause or not? No, pause or no.
Not getting shot, being tackled by Bucky's Buerta, probably the same.
It's on par. It's on par. Well, I was only lucky enough to tour South Africa twice. Once with Ireland in 2004, and once with the Lions in 2009. Neither tour had success on the field, but had a great time on both occasions. In 2004. Colin Farrell was over there filming a film with Salma Hayek at the time. He came to our second game in, I think it was in Bloemfontein, and we went back, brought him into our court session, and as a first capper, you know, you have to drink whatever is handed to you. So we gave him a pint of, you know, 4 shots of tequila, 3 shots of vodka, topped up with Guinness. You know, some crisps on the top of it, and then some cigarette butts in there on top of that. He went off the drink 2 weeks later and hasn't returned to it. We absolutely ended him that night. He was meant to have a reputation as one of LA's hard men. Oh my God, he got softened that night. So yeah, great memories from the Lions tour as well. The toughest test match I ever played in Pretoria. Phenomenally hard test match. Just the most physical I've ever come across. A great victory. Mornay Stein kicked a last-minute goal to win the series. But yeah, just, you know, good memories, albeit not many victories.
Bryan with the Y, Ireland.
I've unfortunately only gone to Ireland in the autumn, so I absolutely hate the cold. So trying to keep warm was probably my biggest gripe. I think a fantastic country to tour. Unfortunately, also not a lot of success over in Ireland, end of year tours, but they're trying to stay away from the Guinness is probably a big thing. They get very long and they don't stop throughout the course of the night. But yeah, it's very cold over there. Very, very cold. As you can see.
That's why some of us carry extra body warmth. So you get used to it. Yeah. If I start talking to people like that, I'm just trying to balance up the sunburn on both sides.
We are taking questions on Facebook Live at the moment. You can see the text number on there. Feel free to send in your questions on Facebook Live. Equally, we're taking questions from the floor. Who's got a question for the guys? It's obviously got to be you right at the back, isn't it? Yeah. We're going to come here and then I'll come all the way around there. To you, sir.
Hi, guys. So if you didn't play rugby, what sport would you do?
would have liked to have been. I've been a footballer before I played rugby. I never played rugby until I was 12. Soccer, I should say. Football in Ireland is actually Gaelic football, rather. So to avoid confusion, so soccer, I was keen on it probably just before any opportunities came in England for trials and things. I took up rugby, and that was the end of that. But I quite liked. I was a big Man United fan, which is not great these days. So we had a good 20 years. I'm thinking of jumping ship now. I've always loved the blue side of Manchester. No. So maybe a footballer, and I too could be a phenomenal actor like Neymar.
Wow, it's a difficult one. I would have loved to be a golfer. Bryan has seen my golfing skills, and they are absolutely atrocious. I love the social aspect of it, though, so I gave him a lot more enjoyment than he gave me on the golf course. I think I would have maybe tried athletics as a gig. I don't know how good I would have been. I would have probably come stone last, given how quick those guys run. But I think it's a difficult one to say, because rugby gives you so many amazing values that you learn, and it's a team sport, and the camaraderie that the beautiful game of rugby has is something not really found in many other sports globally. So I think we're pretty privileged, pretty fortunate to have that talent, blessed to be able to do a game we love, take it to some amazing places in the world. So hopefully I don't have to choose another sport, because rugby was pretty awesome.
Got another question here. Yes, sir?
So Ireland's getting one of England's best coaches as their new coach, Farrell, who also plays in the Vets here. I was just wondering when we might see the two Bryans play in the Vets tournament at Dubai.
Absolutely never. I did a training session. The only times I put on boots since retiring 4.5 years ago, I did a training session with the England Sevens last September, which was scarily hard. It was to understand what the caliber of athlete you're dealing with out there. You have to throw yourself into their environment. So I hadn't done an awful lot of training. First mistake, and then to try and the ego gets the better of you and think you can compete with these guys. Second mistake. So I don't like that pain anymore. That switch the flick of that switch has gone, and it's irreversible now. I can't really push myself in the gym. I don't like doing cardio. But yet I really like to drink wine and eat rich food. So it's a bad balance of lack of exercise and all the bad things in life that I'm living now. But do you know what? I gave enough of it up for 15 years. I think I'm entitled to it.
My answer is not going to be as eloquent. Also, never. I didn't read the fine print in my marriage contract, so apparently I'm not allowed to do anything post my rugby playing career, so I'm banned from doing it. If there's a coaching position available, I might help out, but...
Got another question over here. Yes, sir?
This is to both Bryans, but Bryan with a Y, no longer, not a World Cup winner. Bryan, as a proud Englishman, it saddens me to say that Ireland are the best team in the world on current form. So good to you. So my question is related to that. A, how good is Joe Schmidt? And B, how stupid were England to let Andy Farrell go?
In equal measure, excellent. Joe Schmidt is a phenomenal coach. His attention to detail is like no other coach I've ever played under. He's a workaholic, an insomniac, and has no pastimes. So that all lends itself well to actually knowing your stuff on the rugby field. He's a brilliant rugby brain, and if you challenge him, you want to have your ducks in a row, because he doesn't let you away with, I like what you've done there, I'll think about it. He'd be like, no, shoot you down in a team meeting. He's like, no, you're full of nonsense. Move on, move away. So if you do want to come up with a concept, it's probably best to get him one-on-one in a meeting beforehand and maybe suggest it to him. You will avoid a lot of embarrassment in doing so. Andy Farrell, obviously he was gotten rid of by England after the disappointing World Cup in 2015. We were only too happy to pick up a coach of his caliber. I was lucky enough to be coached by him in 2013. Phenomenal motivator, man manager, brilliant ideas around what way he wants his defensive system working. And now I definitely think that Ireland have the best defence in the world. Whatever about our attack game, I feel we've the best defence. And on the back of it, we're winning games. You know, first national team other than the Lions to hold New Zealand scoreless since France in '95, or trialist since France in '95, which says an awful lot. And I think Ireland were probably worthy 7-point victors. They probably should have won by more than that. So, I think England's loss is definitely Ireland's game, and the continuity that Ireland are going to have now going forward from 2019 into 2023. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't bring someone new in where it takes 6 months to make that progression and for them to get to know players and everything. This continuity allows a seamless transition to bring new coaches in, and maybe we'll see someone like Ronan O'Gara join to the coaching staff.
Bryan with a Y, best South African coach on the planet at the moment. Who would that be?
On the planet?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, with so much South African talent coaching around the world at the moment.
Neil?
Yeah, I actually think Neil Powell was probably, in terms of results-wise, probably the most successful South African coach over the last while. From a 50-man game, I think, Jake, given that he won a World Cup, probably holds that mantra. He did pretty well in Australia. He's got a coaching gig in Japan at the moment where he's moving the Toyota Blitz, I think, up the top league ladder. So Jake's pretty good. Heineke, first ever Super Rugby coach to win a Super Rugby competition. So it's difficult to say. I think, like Bryan will tell you, every coach has his own unique thing that makes them good. So it's sometimes very difficult to compare one specific coach to another. But yeah, Neil's a very good shot.
We have got a gentleman in an Irish rugby shirt over here. So let's see where he's going.
With the success of the Autumn Internationals with Ireland and the Six Nations coming up, two-part question basically. How do you see the Six Nations go with England building up? Can Ireland win the Six Nations or somebody else? And then where does the World Cup take us? Who's your favourites for the World Cup?
That felt like 3 questions.
I'm Irish, I can have as many as I like.
Okay, I'll answer the middle one, the one I like most. Where do I see Ireland finishing? I think this is the more favourable Six Nations, where we have England and France at home. We've gone on a 10-game unbeaten streak in the Aviv. I think we're a tough team to beat there, but England first up, and after a reasonably successful November series, they were nervous in advance. I think by their standards they'd be happy enough knowing that they'll bring some confidence in, so that'll be a great first game. But can Ireland win the Six Nations again? Of course they can. Have to go to Wales though, have to go to Cardiff, where it's going to be particularly tough this year. Wales playing some good stuff in November as well, so I think it'll be a bit more open than people feel. We still have to go to Murrayfield, where Scotland are a tough beat. We lost there 2 years ago, so I don't know. That's why we've only got 3 Grand Slams, because it's particularly hard to come by. So I reckon not a Grand Slam this year, but maybe a championship win.
Yeah, I reckon World Cup-wise, I think Ireland probably heading into 2019 as the best team in the world. I think not in terms of their results. I think the consistency they've shown over the last 18 months has been absolutely incredible. They've had a lot of injuries, but despite that, Joe Schmidt has got his side winning consistently and playing a brand of rugby that wins you test matches and tournaments. So I think they head into 2019 as the favourites. World Cup time, the All Blacks have always been there, since the game went professional in '96. So, to think they won't do well is rather stupid. And again, I think what happened this year was Steve Hansen actually tried to change his game plan to allow them to have something different going into a World Cup. So even though they probably weren't at the standard that we're used to from the All Blacks, they were developing systems to help them if something comes along the road in Japan in 2019. So they were not without a doubt up there. I think England are on the rise. Wales have won 9 games in a row, albeit one in the middle against a very weakened South African side in Chicago. They still... We blooded like 13 youngsters that game, first cappers.
Are Ireland one of those 9 teams?
I think...
No, they're not. No.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No, I think their last loss was against Ireland. Their last loss was against Ireland in the Six Nations. So, yeah, again, South Africa, thereabouts. You know, we've seen some progression this year. They still sort of 2 from 4 in the autumn internationals. Not quite the finished product. At a World Cup, you have to be at your best for possibly only 5 games. You know, in South Africa 2007, we almost lost to Tonga in the pool stages, and with 20 points all with 20 minutes to go against Fiji in the quarterfinals. So luckily enough not to play New Zealand and Australia. So a bit of luck as well. But for me, Ireland head into 2019 as the favourites and the best team in the world.
So we've got another question over here. I don't know if you fellas can see. We've got a little lad here who's wearing a Welsh rugby jersey. He was nodding away with your thoughts on that. Fella, over to you.
What's the most embarrassing thing you've done in rugby?
Okay, I'm going to go before he goes. Probably the most embarrassing, disappointing thing on a personal level was I had a dive in the Heineken Cup final against Saracens in 2013, which, was, I let myself down. I let the game and the values of rugby down. And even though Toulon went up and continued winning that game, that specific moment in terms of how I brought the game, in my personal view, into disrepute was absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing from the fact that that's not what rugby's all about. So that's me.
I don't know, there's lots of embarrassing moments when you're Irish captain. I'll tell you an embarrassing moment that I was a rugby player, but I wasn't actually playing. So the fitness, this is back in 2007, so the fitness coach of the IRFU was having his wedding. There were some photographers outside the church to get some pictures of the Irish boys walking in. So I was with my now wife, but a girlfriend of 6 months, and we see the pictures being taken, go in, have a great night, and we wake up in the morning, and on the front of the Daily Mail, there's a picture of the two of us walking in. So both of us see the paper at the exact same time, and we both go, "Oh my God!" And she goes, "Oh, he's shocked by this. Okay, I've got to keep her." And she's like, I said, "This is an absolute disgrace." She's right. "You're right. This is a total disgrace." She said, what are we going to do?" I said, "Well, on Monday, I'm going to start a diet." She goes, "What are you talking about?" So the picture of the two of us, the photographer has taken a picture and her skirt has blown up and you can see her knickers. And they've circled that and blown that up. And I'm okay. And all I
Friendly
can...
South African jester.
What a perfect timing, thank you. And all I can see is my enormous head and not her pants on show. So I remember that being a seminal moment, thinking, I really want to get my professionalism together. So for me, that was when professionalism properly kicked in.
We've got a couple more minutes. Any questions? What about this side of the floor? It's been very quiet over this side. Any other questions from the floor? Gentlemen over here in the shade. Quite right too. More than happy to take questions from the shade.
We've been talking a lot about 15s. Let's talk a bit about 7s as we're at the 7s tournament. Begrudgingly, we've said Ireland is probably the world's top 15 side in the world. Why are they not competing consistently at 7s?
Well, because they didn't have a team for 15 years. We took a sabbatical, and then another one, and another one, and another one. And it was down to financial decisions where they felt they couldn't field a 7s team, or they weren't getting the return on having a 7s team. So that changed about 3 or 4 seasons ago. David Nucifora, who came in to head up the IRFU, decided we needed a 7s team, be it on, in first grade or second grade. Obviously, we know that they're not here this weekend. They're not on the circuit. But they're getting closer to a standard of being able to compete on the circuit. We've got the fastest player recorded in 7s rugby playing for Ireland, a guy called Jordan Conroy, who actually burnt Carlin Isles, an Olympic track and field competitor. He beat him in a sprint, 37 kilometers an hour, which is pretty remarkable. So we're getting there. And now that there's no more financial restrictions, maybe we'll see. Maybe another couple of seasons before we see them out here. And even, that said, you know, we did have them in the London Sevens and they beat England, so it can't be that difficult on the circuit, right?
There's another question at the back here. We're over on this side, round about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to you.
Okay, after the next World Cup, 2 coaches that you like, Schmidt and Gatland, are going to be free. Who's going to be the coach of the next All Blacks?
I don't think it'll be either of them. I don't know whether I don't know where I'm looking here. Put your hand up. Okay. I don't know where what Warren Gatland's plans are, whether he has aspirations, but I get the feeling. I spoke to Joe Schmidt 18 months ago about it, and he told me that he doesn't have aspirations to coach the All Blacks. Whether that's the case or not, I'm not entirely sure. But what would be probably a more interesting question, no disrespect, is who's going to be the next Lions coach from those two? Because I would imagine that Gats would love to do all 3 series. You know, he's covered the first 2 and had a win and a draw. He'll feel as though he can go to South Africa and get a series victory. That denied, actually he was part of that tour in 2009 as a backroom staff. But I also anticipate that Joe Schmidt has his eye on that as well. I think he'll take 6 months off from the game after the World Cup. We'll travel around Ireland on open-top buses parading the William Webb Ellis. He'll get bored of that, and then.
Can you do that in the winter in Ireland? Open-top buses? Is that even possible?
You can do whatever you want when you have the William Webb Ellis, apparently. And then I think he'll potentially be the new Lions coach.
We've got one more over here. Yes, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Who would be an individual that you're most proud of attacking and beating in a game, but who's also hit you hardest?
For me, the biggest shot that I ever took was towards the end of my career from Scott Williams, the Welsh centre. He hit me square in the sternum, and we have the GPS packs in our jerseys, and it was the biggest recording. I think it was 27 Gs, which is, you know, a medium-sized car crash anyway. And if he hadn't hit me square in the sternum, I'd have definitely broken ribs. Unfortunately, he broke his collarbone. So he felt the impact as well. But what was actually the sorest part was when I recovered from it, the landing that I'd taken on my arse from getting shot, I had a bruise that went all the way around both cheeks and up my back as well. Such was the force of the impact that I took from him. So for me, that was the biggest shot I've ever taken. And yeah, I suppose one that he gave everything and possibly too much.
Mine was against Ali Williams in New Zealand. Given my height and stature, and I think people ask me why I'm so quick, it was to avoid being tackled or avoid those big guys falling on me, so trying to get away from them as quickly as possible. Running away from, I was pretty fortunate that most of my tries, there weren't many defenders in front of me, so it was either an intercept or a last pass, so I'm grateful for the people inside of me. Best try, probably 2005, though, for the Bulls, sort of down the touchline, Doug Howlett.
That was a goodie.
Yeah, that was a goodie, sort of from the kickoff, evaded 2 vendors, chipped over, I think, Issa Nathiwa, a Leinster legend, and managed to beat Joe Rokokoko in the left-hand corner at Loftus, so that was pretty decent.
Right, it says that you're only allowed 20 minutes in the sun. These boys have done more than that. We've got one more for you, okay? You share 265 international caps between the two of you, which means that you're lined up in front of your national anthems 265 times, respectively. So, or between you both, both of you share that passion for your own national anthem. You used to sing it with gusto, and well, you might as well. What was the one national anthem that, on all the circuit around the world, that you found yourself humming along to other
I think we can end there. I'm done. I think we can end there. I'm done.
We are going to end it there. We're going to say a big thanks to Facebook Live. We're going to say a big thanks to you. And we're going to say a big thanks to this lot as well. Please put your hands together for our HSBC Rugby ambassadors, Bryan with an I and Bryan with a Y. Right, just to let you know that the Premier Suite will be closing its doors for a refurb in round about 10 minutes' time. So sup 'em up now, kids, because we have to shift you out and just batten down the hatches for a quick clean-up at 3:30. We'll be closing the bars at 3:30 just for a little while. Whilst we do a clean-up, we will be getting back underway a little later on. There's another one down here later on this afternoon, so do come and join us for that. In the meantime, stick around, enjoy the hospitality of HSBC in the Premier Suite.